father wants tradition, a son wants compassion, and one woman holds the power to change everything. Thank you so much for watching and for all your comments. Let me know at the end if you like the story and where you're watching from and why you're following this. The Dakota Territory, 1876. A harsh winter wind swept across the plains, rattling the wooden structures of the small settlement that sat on the edge of Lakota Territory. Chief Running Elk stood at the threshold of his lodge, his weathered face contemplating the horizon where the sun was beginning to set. 5 moons had passed since his beloved wife, Mourning Dove, had succumbed to the fever that had ravaged their tribe. The grief still clung to him like a shadow. "Father," called a young voice from inside the lodge, "the fire needs more wood." Running Elk turned to see his son, young Hawk, now 12 winters old, attempting to tend the dying flames. The boy had grown quieter since his mother's passing, taking on responsibilities beyond his years. Running Elk nodded and moved back inside, adding dried branches to the fire. "The council meeting is tonight," Running Elk said, watching as the flames grew stronger. "Elder White Bear believes it is time I took another wife." Young Hawk's hands stilled. "I don't want another mother." Running Elk sighed, settling beside his son. "I understand your heart is still wounded. Mine is too. But our lodge needs a woman's touch. The winter will be long. Then I will work harder," young Hawk insisted, his dark eyes reflecting the firelight. "I can cook and tend the lodge like Mother taught me." Running Elk placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You are becoming a strong Lakota, but you should be learning to hunt and ride, not spending your days doing women's work. Our people have traditions for a reason." Young Hawk fell silent, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames. Running Elk knew his son's stubbornness came from a place of loyalty to his mother's memory. But life among the Lakota was hard, and a lodge without a woman was like a body without a heart. It could function, but not truly live. "There will be visitors arriving tomorrow," Running Elk continued. "Warriors from the Cheyenne and their families. Among them will be several unmarried women of good standing." Young Hawk's head snapped up. "You want me to choose your wife?" Running Elk nodded solemnly. "You will live with her too. Her hands will prepare your food. Her voice will fill our lodge. It is right that you have a say in this matter. And if I choose no one, then the choice will fall to me," Running Elk replied firmly. "But I give you this chance because I honor your feelings, my son." Later that evening, as Running Elk sat among the tribal council, Elder White Bear spoke of the coming Cheyenne delegation. "They bring 3 women of marriageable age," he explained. "Strong women who have proven their worth. One is the daughter of Chief Gray Wolf himself." Running Elk nodded, though his heart felt little enthusiasm. "My son will observe them and make his judgment." Several eyebrows raised at this statement. "The boy chooses your wife?" asked Black Knife, a younger warrior whose opinion Running Elk rarely valued. "He chooses a mother," Running Elk corrected. "I choose a wife." The next morning, the Cheyenne delegation arrived with much ceremony. Young Hawk watched from a distance as the visitors dismounted from their ponies. His eyes scanned the women, noting the 3 who were clearly being presented as potential brides. They stood tall and proud, adorned in finely decorated deerskin dresses with intricate beadwork. "The one with the red beads is Strong Water, daughter of Chief Gray Wolf," whispered Running Elk's sister Willow, who had come to stand beside young Hawk. "The others are Swift Deer and Night Song. All are known for their skills." Young Hawk observed them silently, his young face betraying nothing of his thoughts. The feast to welcome the Cheyenne lasted well into the evening. Young Hawk watched as the 3 women moved through the gathering. Strong Water carried herself with the confidence of a chief's daughter, her movements precise and purposeful. Swift Deer was more animated, laughing easily and speaking with many. Night Song was quieter, but displayed impressive skill when she joined the women in a traditional dance. As the celebration continued, a commotion erupted at the edge of the camp. 2 traders had arrived, leading a small wagon. "They bring goods to trade," explained Willow, "and news from the white settlements." Young Hawk's curiosity drew him closer to the traders. One was a gruff-looking man with a thick beard. The other was younger, with sharp eyes that constantly assessed the value of everything they fell upon. Behind them, sitting in the wagon, was a woman unlike any young Hawk had seen before. Her hair was the color of summer wheat, her skin pale despite being weathered by the sun. She kept her eyes downcast, her hands folded in her lap. "Who is she?" Young Hawk asked a passing warrior. "A slave they purchased from another trader," came the reply. "They say her family was killed by raiders. They offer her in trade for furs and horses." Young Hawk felt a strange tightness in his chest as he observed the woman. She seemed utterly alone, surrounded by a world entirely foreign to her. In that moment, something in her reminded him of himself, a person severed from all they had known and loved. As the night deepened, Young Hawk returned to his father's lodge, his mind filled with the faces he had seen that day. Running Elk joined him later, settling down with a weary sigh. "Have you formed any thoughts about the women?" he asked. Young Hawk stared into the fire. "They are all worthy," he said carefully. "Strong Water has hands that look capable of much work. Swift Deer has a laugh that would bring warmth to our lodge. Night Song moves with grace and patience." Running Elk nodded, pleased with his son's observations. "Tomorrow they will each bring food they have prepared. You will see more of their qualities then." Young Hawk hesitated, then asked, "What about the white woman with the traders?" Running Elk's expression darkened. "She is not for us. The ways of the white people are different. She would not understand our life. But she has no people now," Young Hawk persisted. "Like Mother, she has been taken by fate." "It is not the same," Running Elk said firmly. "Rest now. Tomorrow will bring its own decisions." Dawn broke over the encampment with streaks of crimson and gold painting the sky. Young Hawk had slept fitfully, his dreams filled with his mother's face and, strangely, the sad eyes of the white captive. He rose early and left the lodge before his father awakened, drawn to the trader's wagon. The camp was still quiet, with only a few early risers tending to morning tasks. Young Hawk approached cautiously, noticing the white woman sitting alone by a small fire. The traders were nowhere to be seen, likely still sleeping off the previous night's festivities. The woman tensed as she noticed his approach, her blue eyes widening with apprehension. Young Hawk raised his empty hands to show he meant no harm. "Hungry?" he asked in the broken English he had learned from traders who occasionally visited their camp. The woman seemed surprised by his words but gave a small nod. Young Hawk reached into the pouch at his waist and produced a piece of dried meat, offering it to her. After a moment's hesitation, she accepted it. "Thank you," she said softly. Her voice was gentle, though strained with exhaustion. Young Hawk pointed to himself. "Young Hawk." Then he gestured toward her questioningly. "Sarah," she replied, touching her chest. "Sarah Mitchell." Young Hawk repeated the name, the foreign syllables feeling strange on his tongue. "Sarah." A ghost of a smile touched her lips, the first he had seen. It transformed her face, and for a moment, Young Hawk glimpsed what she might have been like before tragedy had befallen her. "How long with traders?" he asked, struggling to form the question. Sarah's expression clouded. 2 months, she answered. "They bought me from the men who attacked our wagon train." Her voice faltered. "My parents and brother didn't survive." Though Young Hawk couldn't understand all her words, he grasped enough to comprehend the depth of her loss. "My mother," he said, touching his chest where his heart beat. "Gone to spirit world. 5 moons passed." Recognition of their shared grief passed between them, a silent understanding that transcended the barriers of language and culture. In that moment, Young Hawk made his decision. Later that morning, as promised, the 3 Cheyenne women presented food to Running Elk's lodge. Strong Water arrived first, bringing a stew rich with buffalo meat and prairie turnips. Swift Deer followed with freshly baked corn cakes sweetened with wild berries. Night Song offered a traditional preparation of dried meat pounded with cherries and fat, a sustaining food that would last through winter journeys. Young Hawk accepted each offering with proper respect, but remained distracted, his thoughts repeatedly turning to Sarah. Running Elk noticed his son's inattention and frowned. "You must give each woman fair consideration," he chided after the third had left. "This decision affects our future." Young Hawk met his father's gaze steadily. "I have made my choice." Running Elk's eyebrows raised. "So quickly? Which one speaks to your heart?" "None of them," Young Hawk replied, summoning his courage. "I choose the white woman." Running Elk stared at his son in disbelief, then his face darkened with anger. This is foolishness. She knows nothing of our ways. She cannot cook our foods, make our clothes, or speak our language. She can learn, young Hawk insisted, and I can teach her. The tribe would never accept this, Running Elk argued. She is a white captive being sold as a slave. Taking her as my wife would bring dishonor. Not if you free her, young Hawk countered. Not if you make her a person again. Running Elk paced the lodge, his frustration evident in every movement. Why, son? Why do you choose this stranger over women of our own kind, who would bring honor to our lodge? Young Hawk struggled to articulate the feeling that had gripped him since seeing Sarah. She is alone, as we are alone. She has lost everything, as we have lost much. In her eyes I see someone who understands our sorrow. He paused, then added, Mother would not want us to turn away from someone who suffers. The mention of Mourning Dove gave Running Elk pause. His late wife had been known for her compassion, often taking in orphaned children, or caring for elders who had no family. It had been one of the qualities he had most cherished in her. The traders will demand much for her, Running Elk said, his tone softening slightly. I will give them my pony, young Hawk offered, and the silver armbands Mother's brother gave me. Running Elk shook his head. Those are yours. If this truly is your choice, and I still think it unwise, then I will handle the trading. That afternoon, Running Elk approached the traders. Young Hawk watched from a distance as his father engaged in lengthy negotiations. At one point, the discussion grew heated, with the bearded trader gesturing animatedly toward Sarah. Finally, after what seemed like hours, an agreement was reached. Running Elk handed over several fine furs and 2 horses. In return, the younger trader roughly pulled Sarah from the wagon and pushed her toward Running Elk. The Lakota chief spoke briefly to Sarah, then led her toward their lodge where young Hawk waited anxiously. As they approached, young Hawk could see the fear and confusion in Sarah's eyes. She is ours now, Running Elk announced, his voice betraying his lingering doubts. But this creates many difficulties. The council will not approve, and the Cheyenne delegation will be insulted. Before young Hawk could respond, Elder White Bear appeared at the entrance to their lodge, his ancient face creased with displeasure. What is this I hear? He demanded. You have rejected the honorable women presented to you in favor of a white captive? Running Elk straightened his shoulders. My son has made this choice. I honor his judgment. This is unprecedented, White Bear said sternly. The council must discuss this matter immediately. The woman will wait outside the council lodge until we have decided her fate. As White Bear departed, Running Elk turned to his son. You see the trouble you have caused? Now our standing in the tribe is threatened. Young Hawk looked at Sarah, who stood trembling despite her efforts to appear brave. He stepped closer to her. No fear, he said in English. I protect. Running Elk watched this interaction with mixed emotions. Then, with a heavy sigh, he said, Come. We must face the council together. The council meeting lasted well into the evening. Young Hawk and Sarah waited outside as the elders deliberated. Occasionally, raised voices could be heard from within the lodge. Sarah sat with her arms wrapped around herself, her wheat-colored hair falling forward to hide her face. Why? She asked softly after a long silence. Why did you choose me? Young Hawk struggled to find the right words in English. You, alone. Me alone. Together. Not alone. Sarah studied his young face, seeming to search for deception. Finding none, she whispered, I don't belong here. Can learn, young Hawk insisted. Can become Lakota. Before Sarah could respond, the council lodge flap opened, and Running Elk emerged. His expression was solemn but composed. The council has spoken, he announced. The white woman may stay, but not as my wife. She will live with my sister Willow and learn our ways. If, after one turning of the seasons, she has proven herself worthy and wishes to remain, the council will reconsider. Young Hawk felt both relief and disappointment. She will not be my mother? Not yet, Running Elk replied. She must earn her place among us, and I must prove to the council that I remain a worthy leader despite this unconventional decision. As Willow came to lead Sarah away to her new temporary home, the white woman glanced back at young Hawk with an expression that mingled gratitude and apprehension. In that moment, young Hawk silently renewed his determination to help her find acceptance among his people. The weeks that followed Sarah's arrival brought significant changes to the Lakota encampment. The Cheyenne delegation had departed, clearly offended by Running Elk's decision. Strong Water, the chief's daughter, had left with particularly harsh words about the weakness of Lakota men, who favored pale-skinned captives over worthy Cheyenne women. Winter tightened its grip on the plains, bringing biting cold and occasional blizzards that forced everyone to remain inside their lodges. Sarah spent her days with Willow, learning the ways of Lakota women, how to prepare hides, cook traditional foods, and craft essential items for daily life. The language barrier remained challenging, but Sarah proved to be a quick learner. She absorbed Lakota words and phrases with remarkable speed, though her pronunciation often caused Willow to laugh. In return, Sarah taught Willow English words, creating a unique blend of communication between them. Young Hawk visited his aunt's lodge whenever possible, eager to see Sarah's progress. On one particularly cold afternoon, he arrived to find Sarah sitting cross-legged before the fire, carefully stringing glass beads onto a leather strip. "Your hands move like a Lakota woman's now," he commented in his people's tongue, pleased when Sarah's face brightened with recognition. "Willow says I still tie knots like a white person," she replied haltingly in Lakota, her accent still strong, but her meaning clear. Young Hawk settled beside her. "You learn faster than anyone expected." Sarah's expression grew serious. "Some still look at me with hatred in their eyes. Black Knife and his followers," young Hawk acknowledged. "They believe my father was wrong to bring you here." "Perhaps he was," Sarah said softly, her fingers momentarily stilling on the beadwork. "I don't belong anywhere anymore." "That isn't true," young Hawk insisted. "You belong where you choose to belong." Sarah studied him curiously. "You're wise for someone so young." Young Hawk shrugged. "My mother said I was born with an old spirit." At the mention of his mother, a comfortable silence fell between them. Sarah had learned enough about Lakota culture to understand the deep reverence they held for those who had passed into the spirit world. She had also come to recognize the profound loss that young Hawk and his father still carried. "Tell me about her," Sarah requested gently. "About your mother." Young Hawk's eyes grew distant with memory. "She was called Mourning Dove because her voice was as sweet as birdsong at dawn. She could heal sicknesses that others couldn't. Her hands were never still, always weaving, cooking, or tending to someone in need." His voice caught slightly. "She taught me to see beauty in small things, the pattern of frost on a leaf, the way sunlight dances on water." Sarah nodded, understanding. "My mother taught me to read the stars. On clear nights we would sit outside our cabin, and she would tell stories about the constellations." Her blue eyes misted with tears. "I wonder if they can see each other now, in the spirit world." "My people believe all things are connected," young Hawk said. "The stars, the earth, the living and the dead, so perhaps they do." Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden arrival of Running Elk. His face was tense, his breath coming in visible puffs in the cold air. "Young Hawk, come quickly," he commanded. "Scouts have reported a band of Crow warriors approaching from the north. The council meets now." Young Hawk rose immediately. The Crow were traditional enemies of the Lakota, and their appearance in winter was unusual and concerning. "Stay inside," he told Sarah before following his father. At the council lodge, the atmosphere was tense. Elder White Bear sat with a grave expression as Running Elk's lead scout, Swift Arrow, described what he had seen. "A party of 15 warriors moving fast despite the snow. They carry weapons and wear their war paint." Black Knife, who had become increasingly vocal in his opposition to Running Elk's leadership, spoke up sharply. "They come because they've heard our chief grows soft, taking in white women instead of strengthening our alliances." Running Elk's face hardened. "They come because it is the way of the Crow to test our boundaries. This has nothing to do with Sarah. Everything has changed since she arrived," Black Knife insisted. "Our strongest allies, the Cheyenne, left insulted. Now our enemies approach. The spirits send us warnings you refuse to heed." Before the argument could escalate further, Elder White Bear raised his hand for silence. "What matters now is not why they come, but how we respond. Running Elk, as chief, what do you propose?" All eyes turned to Running Elk. Despite the challenges to his leadership, his strategic mind was still respected. "We will not seek battle in winter," he said firmly, "but neither will we show fear. I will take 10 warriors to meet them before they reach our camp. We will learn their intentions and show our strength." The council murmured their approval, even Black Knife grudgingly nodding his agreement. "I will ride with you," Black Knife declared, a clear challenge. "As will I," Young Hawk announced, standing taller. Running Elk looked at his son with surprise. "You are not yet a warrior." "I am old enough to ride and carry a message," Young Hawk argued. "Let me be your runner if negotiations turn sour." After a moment's consideration, Running Elk nodded. "Very well. Prepare quickly. We ride within the hour." As the council dispersed, Young Hawk hurried to gather his riding gear. His heart pounded with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. This would be his first encounter with enemy warriors. At the edge of camp, he found Sarah waiting, her face pinched with worry. "Willow told me about the crow," she said. "Is it dangerous?" Young Hawk straightened his shoulders, attempting to appear more confident than he felt. All meetings between rival tribes